Pacers lose to the Lakers. Some self-inflicted heartbreak at the buzzer. LeBron James with a tip-in. So much went wrong for the Pacers in the second quarter. Their fourth quarter had some disasters, and we have a lot to talk about on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Thursday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, the magic is over. The escape artist Pacers could not do it again. They were winning with 1 second to go. They were losing when the final buzzer sounded. LeBron James at the horn. Lakers beat the Pacers by 1 point. Crazy game. A lot of little moments here and there. A lot of decisions that have been nitpicked. A disaster second quarter for the Pacers. All a part of the story as the King and his star teammates get it done. Really tough for the Pacers. They roared back from a disaster second quarter to take the lead late. And the fourth quarter is a lot of the story of this game. A lot of where the natural discussion went post-game, and rightly so in some cases because of the decision of one player, the decision of the coach, a substitution pattern partially on the Pacers, partially not because of the way the game flowed. It just was a mess of a quarter. And it should have been more clear. A lot of things in the fourth quarter that I thought were at least a little head scratcher, stuff I maybe didn't quite agree with, right? You guys listen to this show a lot. One, I think everybody who listens knows that I'm much higher on Rick Carlisle than many fans. But two, that when something happens that I don't necessarily agree with, I try to think like, okay, what was this player or person thinking? Like, why did they do this? And then try to explain that POV before disagreeing. So let's talk about the fourth quarter of this game. The Pacers entered the fourth quarter down just 3 points. They had roared back to make it close. Right? If they win that quarter by 3 or more, they win the game. They won the fourth quarter by 2. The start of the fourth quarter, after a third quarter, the Pacers did quite well in, right? They won that quarter by 10. They cut their halftime deficit way down. They were looking good. They were playing good. They had the momentum. They started the fourth quarter off with 4 bench players and 1 starter. They did not go to any 4 bench player lineups in the third quarter, the Pacers did. And that group to start the fourth, the starter was Myles Turner. It was not one of the stars, right? They do this, Carlisle chooses this a good number of times, right? And then Siakam comes in with like 10 minutes or 9 minutes to go, and then he comes out with 5, and then comes back in for the close, and Haliburton comes back in from like the 6-minute mark to the end, usually. Again, we'll get to the more of this quarter. He starts the fourth off with neither of them on the floor, and I thought that's surprising. Given the success they just had that quarter, their bench defense and offense wasn't very good in the second quarter. I did not think they would turn back to that. I did not think they would turn to that group. I thought one of Siakam or Haliburton would be on the floor to start that quarter, and they weren't, and that group did not do very well. They gave up a 6-0 run like that. Timeout from the Pacers. Siakam comes in at the 10-15 mark, and all of a sudden they go from down 3 to down 9. I don't know why they did that. And I don't know why they didn't sub after the timeout. That's thing 1 of the fourth quarter. That was a mess for the Pacers. Thing 2, this one not as much their fault, but still a part of the story this quarter. They get Jarace Walker in with Pascal, Siakam, and a couple larger players. This big lineup is doing really well. The Pacers were all the way back from down 9. It's a close game again. Tyrese Haliburton heads to the scores table. A little over 6.5 minutes to go in the game, right? His usual rotation, and he comes. And he's going to come in for Jarace Walker, and then it's primarily going to be the starting 5 on the floor. Makes sense. Jarace is playing pretty well, so it's not like the end of the world that this is how this went. But the Pacers stayed hovering around down 2 for a few minutes, and Haliburton couldn't come in the game because there was no stoppages. There was only 1 stoppage in play for the time he was sitting at the scores table. It was a foul that got Jarace Walker to the foul line. He's the guy taking free throws. He can't come out. So Haliburton doesn't come in until there's 4 something to go in the game. So now they didn't have a star in early. They didn't have their point guard who's had a magnificent game and almost has 20 assists. Couldn't get him in until later, right? No matter these hurdles, they break through them. Very good play from the Pacers continues for much of the rest of the fourth quarter. Jarris Walker made some nice passes and a three himself. Haliburton finished some plays. Ben Mathurin was playing pretty well. He got to 24 points. Myles Turner was hitting some key jumpers. The Pacers roared back, and they took the lead. They were battling quite hard with the Lakers to undo their terrible quarter. And they did it. Congrats to the Pacers. You did it. You've taken the lead. 42 seconds to go. Haliburton wiggles into the lane. He hits a floater. He gets fouled. The free throw miraculously bounces in. And they're winning 119 to 118 with 42 seconds to go. Lakers timeout. So here's what the Pacers do. A smart thing. They bring in a defensive lineup. Haliburton comes out of the game. Myles Turner also comes out of the game, which I thought was fascinating. So it was Jarris Walker was on the floor. Ben Mathurin was on the floor. Siakam, Nembhard, and Nesmith out on the floor for the Pacers. And they get a stop with about 30 seconds to go. They force a miss from Dorian Finney-Smith at the basket. Amazing defensive possession from Jarris Walker to get this stop. He slid over, cut off a driver, stepped up, used his hands. They kick it out to the corner. That guy tries to attack. Jarris Walker slides over in front of Finney-Smith, contests, gets the stop, gets the rebound. One of the best clutch defensive possessions Jarris Walker's ever had, right? I still think people overrated his defense. That was a legitimately great play and got the rebound. And then the most discussed moment of the game. Tyrese Haliburton not in the game. Myles Turner's not in the game. There's about 30 seconds to go. So there is a shot clock. There's 33 seconds left. I think there was a 9-second differential. The Pacers have a timeout. They called a bunch in the second quarter when they were playing like crap, but they had one in the hand. They didn't use it to get Haliburton in the game earlier, which was fine. They put okay in that stretch. But they had one in the hand right then. They are winning the game at the time. The thinking, which I think is correct, is call it. The Lakers are going to get the ball again. The shot clock is on. The thinking is call the timeout, get your best offensive group on the floor, run the play, and then, notably, which we'll get to in a second, they had a foul to give. If you don't score, use it, sub, get your defensive group on the floor. So the rosy interpretation would be the defensive lineup was already on the floor. If the Lakers just come down and don't call timeout, even if you score, you'd like to have that group out there anyway. But you need the points for that to really matter, and that line of thinking doesn't make sense to me, to be clear. That's like the rosiest possible interpretation for not calling a timeout. Carlisle admitted postgame that he thinks he should have, right? He didn't call one. Haliburton stays out of the game. He's at the scores table. You can see him a little antsy, right? He does not come in. Myles Turner does not come in. So the Pacers bleed the shot clock all the way down. Bennedict Mathurin takes a shot at the buzzer of the shot clock. It's a very tough one. It does not go in. And then here come the Lakers for their last possession. Why didn't the Pacers call timeout? I don't know. I don't know. I cannot tell you why. I think they should have, and I think that they know now. Obviously, the benefit of hindsight is very easy here that they should have. Carlisle, post-game, said, I asked him, what did you consider timeout there? Before I even finished the question, like he knew it was coming, right? It's such a big moment. He said, I considered it. Looking at it now, it certainly would have been the thing to do, right? So a lot of people said, shifting the blame. He just said it right there, that he should have called it. He said, there was 9 or 10 second difference. Had they scored, they were going to run it back at us. That group had a good run on the floor, so I just decided to stay with it. That was my decision. And then another key moment, we'll talk about this in a second. The thing that was also a big factor is we had a foul to give. We talked about it in the huddle. Everybody on the sideline was yelling it, and we just didn't do it. They got turned loose for a shot, and then you all know the ending, which we'll get to in a second. So they don't call a timeout. They're on defense. They have the defensive lineup on the floor. They should still use their foul to give with 3 seconds left or something. And you can see, especially if you watch the replay, Jenny Busick is trying to get them to do it. LeBron catches it in the corner. He's doubled by Aaron Nesmith and Jarris Walker. That would have been a good time to do the foul to give. Maybe there's a stoppage. Maybe the Lakers call timeout. I don't know. But the Pacers did not call timeout. They got no points. They got a bad shot. And then they don't use the foul to give. If they were told to do it in the huddle, that is on the players, even especially if they're being screamed at it in that moment. LeBron gets rid of it. It gets back to Luka. The Pacers defend Luka pretty well. He takes a tough floater, and he misses. Looks like the game is over. Jarris Walker, who had just had the best defensive play of his life, he's the guy closest to LeBron. Him and Aaron Nesmith both kind of shuffle into the lane away from LeBron, guarding someone else in Nesmith's case. LeBron just walks right past Jarris Walker, who is watching the ball, jumps up, offensive rebound, and puts it in. Myles Turner, after the game, on Jarris Walker, very complimentary of his fourth quarter. And then he said, I think he tried if you do the right thing. I think he tried to do the right thing. If you look at the film, LeBron had the ball. and he was going to foul. Luka missed a shot. Little detail. When you see someone going up for a game winner, when you're a young player, sometimes you look up. You got to stay engaged. And I agree. That's what happened. He saw what he thought was the last shot. He looked at it. He forgot about LeBron. LeBron swoops in, heroic, at the buzzer. Pacers, the voodoo magic of their insane run they just had, ends as LeBron puts in a heartbreaker. So much in that fourth quarter. The Pacers left on the table. The 6-0 run to start the quarter with the Turner plus bench group. Didn't work, right? I mean, I talked about the bench group on the Changes Bench podcast a couple weeks ago now. I said they got to try to limit those 4 and especially 5 bench guy lineups. And if they do it, it's got to be with Siakam. And I said I would only do 3 or fewer and try to get Nembhard with those groups more often. That Nembhard part was impossible today because he was minutes matching with Luka basically. But the rest of it I stand by. They didn't do that to start the fourth. It hurt them, right? Haliburton in the middle of the quarter, having him in a little sooner would have helped. The group they had on the floor was playing fine. This is very nitpicky for me. And this is not something the Pacers did wrong. There was just no stoppages in the game. So he was sitting watching for 2 minutes, right? Had they called a timeout to get him in, they don't even have one late for us to talk about them not calling one late, right? Like it did matter that they did not, that they chose to make that decision. But that was unfortunate, right? Rui Hachimura hit 2 threes that they left him wide open for because they were doubling stronger ball handlers, right? That hurts. That's a strategy choice that hurt them. And I'm not saying they made the wrong strategy choice. That's Rui Hachimura making plays. In the final minute, they got a great shot. They made a sub that made sense for defense. And then I think they should have called timeout. And they didn't. They clearly should have kept the body on LeBron James. They didn't. So much in the fourth quarter was just tough, confusing, and I can't explain it in some cases. And they've acknowledged that it should have gone better, right? Jarris made a young player mistake. Rick Carlisle should have called a timeout, and he knows it. He should have put Haliburton in sooner, I think, but would have required a timeout. It's just the way the game flowed did not go the Pacers' way in the fourth quarter. Some of that, a good portion of that, largely self-inflicted. And LeBron, heroic. Impressive heads-up play from him. I mean, you got to crash the glass there, but like if Luka takes a step-back 3, for example, that ball's flying off the rim. It carries him so far away, the game ends immediately. So him coming in for the floater and LeBron perfectly timing that jump made that moment possible. Credit to him. Lakers win. Pacers win streak's over. Those fourth quarter moments all matter. Like the Pacers lost the game and they had a lead in the fourth and lost the game. So those moments all matter a lot. That's the story of the game. The Pacers did not lose the game there. My first post-game question was not about the fourth quarter. It was about the second quarter where the Pacers sucked. How and why? Got it coming here on Locked On Pacers. Before we talk about that, we need to talk about the great people over at FanDuel. March Madness is here. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet on FanDuel wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. If you're picking your favorites, there's lots of ways to go. Purdue's still in for a lot of you listening. If you got your eye on a few underdogs, FanDuel makes it easy to pick all that with spreads, totals, game props, whatever you're into. They've got it with tournament games happening every day between men's and women's 5 days in a row. There's always something exciting to bet on the FanDuel app. It's simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. One more time, that is on FanDuel.com. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Locked On Lakers has to be your second listen. LeBron's first buzzer-beating game winner with the Lakers. Magnificent shot from him. He wasn't that great until then. He didn't even hit a shot in the game until the fourth quarter. But he hit that one. Whew. Dang, what a play. Had also some very high praise for Tyrese Haliburton post-game. James Boyd, I believe, tweeted that video. The second quarter is really where the Pacers lost the game. I mean, there's a lot of reasons they lost, but they were awful. Awful in the second quarter. Pacers won the first, third, and fourth quarters by a combined 17 points. They were playing really well in those quarters, and they were awful. 40-22, the Lakers win the second quarter. That's bad on both ends, right? If the Pacers scored 30 and had a fine offensive quarter, but gave up 40, they win. If they scored 22 but gave up 32, they win. If they were only bad on one end, they would have won the game. They stunk on both ends. So many interesting things happened. I think it was summed up pretty well post-game by a few people when they were talking about the pace difference, right? Tyrese Haliburton got me on this. And this is what I noticed. In the first quarter, the Pacers' tempo or pace or whatever term you want to use to describe the flow of the game very much felt like it was a Pacers game, right? They were getting into the open floor. They were passing the ball the way they want at high volume. They were getting the shots that they liked. They were getting it quickly, getting into their scheme, flow, bang, bang, shots there. In the second quarter, the Lakers mixed in some zone, and their size gave the Pacers problems. Remember the in-season tournament game last year, the finals? That's what that felt like to me. And they are a much slower-paced team than the Pacers. This was the only quarter of the game where the Lakers got a strangle on the pace between defensive successes and the way that played into their offense. What I mean by that is, Caitlin Cooper's always so good at highlighting this, and I'm not saying she would say this about this game, but I'm going to say this about this game. Sometimes the Pacers get stuck in this cycle, especially against zones, where they can't score against a certain defense or lineup or scheme, so the other team gets a stop. They rebound, they come down and score easily in transition or in a rapid offensive play because they got to stop. And then because of that, they scored. They can now set said defense again, and that cycle just keeps going and going and going. And that's what the second quarter felt like to me is the Pacers could not make anything. They went 5. I think at one point they were 5 for 19 in the second quarter. And there are some games I grab this mic and I get up here and I tell you what I saw and I say, yeah, the Pacers couldn't make anything that quarter, but they were getting good shots, right? They get good shots. They usually do get good shots. Not in the second quarter. They were getting terrible shots. It was hard, like late in the shot clock all the time. The bench stunk to start the quarter, which has happened a couple times for the Pacers recently. The starters or the mixed groups did not pick that up, right? They could not get good shots going in that quarter. It was crushing. They finished the second quarter 7 for 25 from the field with decent three-point shooting. They were 3 for 10 from deep. That's not good, right? That's below average, but that's like okay. They went 4 for 15 on twos. They almost shot 25% on twos. They only had one turnover and scored 22 points in a quarter. Like it was awful how hard it was for them to generate good shots and make them, right? It's not even a game where they could get them to the mic and say, hey, we generated good shots, we shouldn't make up. They didn't. They know it too. Okay, that stinks. You can't score. Just get some stops, right? It's okay. Keep it close. Couldn't do that either. Whew, they got torn up in the second quarter. Jackson Hayes had a nice night. He made his only shot. Rui Hachimura made his only shot in the second quarter. Dorian Finney-Smith made both of his shots in the second quarter. Dalton Knecht made his only shot in the second quarter. That's great. That's only one miss between all that crew. Austin Reeves and Luka scored more than the Pacers. Just them. Whew. Luka was awesome. The step back was there. The ability to verve. I mean, he's not like fast. He just is strong and can get by you with technical moves, and he draws 5 free throws in that quarter. 10 points for Luka in just the second quarter. Nembhard did all he could. Nembhard's pressing him full court. You can't expect more from him. And Luka got quieter after the first half. That's hard to do. You can't have much of an offensive impact playing like that. It's hard to guard the guys playing like that. That's what they tried to do in this game. Luka, 10 points, 1 rebound in the second quarter. And Austin Reeves was even better. The guy who destroyed the Pacers earlier this season in LA. Ripped them up. I bet it's still his career high at 45. Man, was he good in that game. Well, guess what? In the second quarter, here's Austin Reeves again. 5 for 7 from the field. Reminder, the Pacers made 7 shots. Austin Reeves made 5. Him and Luka matched the Pacers. He missed both his twos. All 5 of his makes were inside the arc, and he also took 5 free throws because he was getting into the paint and scoring. 2 rebounds, 1 assist for Austin Reeves. He was plus 13 in the quarter. Dominant. They tried different guys on him. Not a lot of success on Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves was playing so well in the second quarter that he scored, I believe it was on Nembhard. I could be wrong. He scored and hit a 2 small going back on the other end. And when you're hot, you can celebrate and you can do the 2 small. I'm not saying you shouldn't have done that. What I'm saying is usually after that happens, a team or player plays some inspired ball for a few minutes to fight back. Like, no, we're not too small. We can score on you. We can stop you, whatever. Didn't feel like any of that. Maybe they didn't see him do it, but it didn't. There was no response. And so the Pacers were getting smoked at halftime. They were down double digits, and they had a lot of fighting back to do. And I know that they took the lead again, which means the fourth quarter should be the leading story. But they win this game with even just an okay second quarter. They were awful in that period. It was the only time of the game that the Lakers, it felt like the game was being played the way the Lakers wanted to play the game. They had all of these struggles to keep up with the Pacers. The Pacers were getting shots at the rim and open threes for much of the other 3 quarters of the game. Their percentages turn out really good. The Pacers shoot over 50% from the field, over 41% from deep. They only had 9 turnovers. Their offensive process was really good in this game, except for this random 12-minute period where they just vomited all over themselves and could not get out of their own way. And it was after a good first quarter. They were up 33-25 in this game. Like, they were just crushed in that quarter. Tyrese Haliburton 1 for 4, Siakam over 3. Your stars go 1 for 7. That's already tough to overcome. Neesmith, Turner, and Nembhard combined to go 3 for 7. The bench really struggled all night. They got 2 for 6 out of Mathurin in that quarter and 1 for 3 from top, and that amounts to not a good quarter. I don't know what the Pacers needed to do better, right? It did not matter who was on the floor. This was not the bench stunk and it ruined the whole quarter. It was everybody who played in the period. Starters did not come in and fix this mess at all. Tyrese Haliburton had 6 assists on their 7 made shots. He was an awesome passer in this game, but they couldn't get enough of that. They needed to find a way to break the zone down faster. They needed to up their defensive level, especially on Reeves. They needed to not let that snowball get going, but they couldn't. They didn't, and it cost them the game. That, to me, was the biggest story of the game. That's where they lost, in my estimation, even though the fourth quarter decisions are of such magnitude because of the way the game flowed into that moment. Really tough loss for the Pacers. The Lakers will go down as one of the best teams they won't beat this year. We'll see about OKC coming on the weekend, and they play Denver again, but size, the Lakers are not as big as they used to be. They don't have Anthony Davis anymore. Shocker. But they're still big. When they start off the group that they started with, Tyrese Haliburton's on Rui Hachimura, right? And Hachimura had 14 points on 5 shots. And it helps that he made all 4 of his threes in this game. I don't think he made it 2. And this is not a commentary on Tyrese Haliburton's defense in this game. This is a commentary on the size advantage the Lakers have. When they start Doncic, James, Hachimura, and Hayes, and their bench guys include Dorian Finney-Smith and Jared Vanderbilt. And I guess Dalton Connect's tall, but he didn't play very much. The size they had last year in the in-season tournament gave the Pacers fits. The size was a factor in this game. The rebounds finished 43-36 Lakers. They got the most iconic and important rebound of the game. The Pacers stunk in the second quarter. They had self-inflicted wounds in the fourth quarter. And they lost a game that they had lots of stuff go their way. Some stuff went well that I want to close out today's Locked On Pacers discussing. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Hope you're having a lovely Thursday so far. Pacers play the Wizards tonight. Make Locked On Wizards your second listen. The Wizards, I believe, played on Wednesday against the Sixers. I have no idea what the final score of that game was. I did not check the Tank Bowl. I will assume that the team with more incentive to lose, which is the Sixers, lost. So a back-to-back for the Wizards as well. Travel for the Pacers, tough. Their last travel back-to-back of the season. I think they have 2 more back-to-backs, maybe only 1 more, but there's no travel in the way. In DC, the Pacers tonight. Okay. Yes, they lost. A lot did not go their way, hence the first 2 segments. You know what did go their way? Woo-wee was Tyrese Haliburton slinging that ball around today. 18 assists and 1 turnover? What? These stats are just like comical. We're also used to it watching him, and in my case, talking about him. That, you see 12 assists, 2 turnovers, 12 assists, 1 turnover, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's what he had. 18-1? That's like a whole team. In a lot of, 3/4 of the Lakers game, they had 18 assists. It's just crazy. And in this game specifically, there were a lot of moments where I was like, he has 80% of their assists as a team. Their second highest assist guy in this game was Nembhard with 3. His volume wasn't even so high. It's not like they were force feeding Tyrese Haliburton creation. Man, was his passing good. The Lakers defense has been not good very recently, but largely very good this calendar year. He shredded them. Whew. His efficiency was not there. He's 1 for 9 from deep. That really hurt. Had this game been a normal game they lost by 1, to the extent that that's even a thing that exists, I think he would have taken the stand and said something like, yeah, I couldn't find my shot today, blah, 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 because that really hurt the Pacers. But he was good inside the arc, 6 for 7 on his 2s, and he was lighting the Lakers up with his passing. When he got 2 feet in the paint, the Lakers were toast. They could not figure out how to stop him or figure out what shooter he was spraying to. He was terrific. Once again, another double-double. The streak is insane. His stats since the All-Star break are insane. I got asked again on a radio hit today if I thought he could make All-NBA. I'm not sure. You have 16 and 18 with 1 turnover on national TV on ESPN against LeBron James. You got a chance. Although the inefficiency probably hurt him in this one. Also good in this game, Aaron Neesmith, man. He's guarding Reeves sometimes. He's guarding Luka a little bit, very infrequently. That was mostly Nembhard. He's got the James assignment every so often. He played the 4 next to Siakam, next to Toppin with no center. That was new and interesting and went totally fine. He made 3 threes. Aaron Nesmith's playing really well since the All-Star break. Offensively, to pair with his, good defense at his size. Entering the day, he was averaging 15.6 points per game since the All-Star break. That's actually going to go down from a good performance. His shooting splits were 53, 47, 93 entering today since the break. Those will go up. Really nice game from him, especially early. He had a lot of very important and well-timed threes. Just playing really good basketball for the Pacers right now. And an understated, I would say, part. I kind of want to do a segment on him if I find a free segment on how well he's played and why, because the wiggle inside the arc's been huge in this one. They didn't play him a ton. They turned to Mathurin more because they needed the offensive juice, and Mathurin could provide it at time against a pretty good Laker defense. 23 points for Mathurin in this game, but I thought Nesmith was awesome. And Carlisle just talked about the 1-2 punch, like the combo they can get from Nesmith and Mathurin scoring, which is fascinating to hear it that way. Mathurin was awesome, 23 points on 16 shots, got to the foul line, rebounds were there, only 1 turnover. He played really well, right? In a game like this, with that size causing issues for basically everybody except for Tyrese Haliburton, they needed somebody else to get in the teeth of the D. Like Siakam was pretty good. He had 15 points, but they actually have bodies to put on him that can make his life more challenging, and the Lakers can switch, and that doesn't default put a small on Siakam like it does for some other teams. So Mathurin's got to be a little more powerful with the scoring, and he was in this game. It was a very quiet, high-scoring night. He hit a 3 that actually was a 2 late, and then I typed, it was a nice shot. I tweeted like the score of the game after it or something, and then I looked up. I was like, wait, he has 24 points? Like I know 8 free throws is why that's the case, but I had no idea, which was funny because not even 5 seconds later, Dustin Lapierre goes, wow, I didn't know Mathurin had 24, and he was 2 seats away from me, and I turned to him. I said, I just said the same thing, and typed it down. So really quiet game for Mathurin, and I don't mean quiet as an insult. I mean quiet as a quietly good. And I talked earlier this season, for those of you who listen every day, about how those are probably his best nights. Like the nights you don't notice him and his stats go crazy or look like his good stats. Like that means he's fitting in and standing out. And I thought he did so in this game. He made quick decisions in the slot in particular. When he would catch to drive to the basket, sometimes into traffic, but not very often. He played really well, I thought, with his scoring. Myles Turner shot it very well and had 12 rebounds. They were plus 10 in his minutes. 16 and 12 for Turner. He was quite good. He had a podium game after in this one. I was surprised he also wasn't on the floor late for some of those moments, but they were chasing other things in those final possessions and things just didn't go their way. But they got great play from their starting 5. Pacers starters were plus 3 in their 12 minutes. They were plus 8 with Mathurin Walker in there at the 2-3. With Mathurin in there instead of Nesmith, they were plus 4, right? They had tons of good plus minuses with their starters. Nembhard plus 14. Siakam plus 14. Nembhard was plus 14 in 39 minutes and 18 seconds of play. That means in less than 9 minutes without him, they were minus 15. The bench just has to be better at some point. And we'll see if this is the launching point for some stuff, right? They did lose the game. There is a back-to-back element to this. Tyrese Haliburton, they're trying to keep him between 30 and 32 minutes. Like, there are factors at play influencing the rotation beyond just, like, what gives the Pacers the best chance to win. They played Nembhard a ton because he was kind of minutes matching Luka, all that, right? I get it. However, in this game, saw a ton of Mathurin with starters. Saw Thomas Bryant play a minute 48 seconds. They went so bad he never played again. He was minus 9 in those minutes. Shepard missed a shot and had a turnover when him and McConnell got mixed up. And then Jarris Walker came in for him and played better than him. I've been a Shepard over Walker guy, but Walker was better than Shepard in this game. Is this a turning point? Is Jarris Walker going to get Ben Shepard's minutes? We'll see. Again, Walker was better in this game. They went to a Toppin-Nesmith 5-4 combo, which was partially as a result of Thomas Bryant not playing, partially a result of them needing tempo in smaller groups. And it was pretty good. I think they had 8 minutes of that front court with no other centers this season, and all of those 8 minutes had Jarris Walker in them. They did not have Jarris Walker in this game. So that was a new, much smaller look than they're used to. I'll be very curious if they go back to that. They tried different stuff. They looked for different solutions right after Alex and I did our rotations thing for the playoffs. I don't think this is a playoff rotation, although they only played 8 guys more than 10 minutes. We'll see where this leads to for the Pacers. Keep an eye on that going forward, and keep an eye on their response tonight. The Wizards are not very good. The Wizards have incentive to lose, and yet you just never know. The Wizards did, in fact, beat the Detroit Pistons this month, a team chasing the Pacers in the standings. The Bucks did lose. It was not all terrible for the Pacers. The Knicks also lost tonight, so their standings ground. Only Detroit had a good night because they didn't play. Tomorrow night, Pacers-Wizards will be podcasting right after that with all the takeaways from that one. Hopefully not quite as insane as the last Pacers-Wizards game in D.C., which was just a nuts overtime game. Pacers can't really afford overtime right now, given their upcoming schedule, 3 and 4 nights coming on Saturday, and the fact that they're playing on a back-to-back. We'll have everything from Pacers-Wizards tomorrow right here on this podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Tony Arice. This podcast is on Twitter at Locked On Pacers. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's the best place to yell at me, or leaving a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you very soon.